Have you ever gotten up and quit your job in the middle of a work shift? If so, why? I was looking for work and took anything I could find. Unfortunately, the job I found was telemarketing. I hate myself too. Anyway, the work sucked and I hated it. I always took no for an answer, and that got me in lots of trouble. They kept putting me in a room with this old VHS tape on pressure tactics and never taking no for an answer. The tape went for an hour, so I just had a nap instead. Thankfully, I was also looking for work on the side and got a job at the local supermarket, so I knew I had a backup plan. The next time they put me in that room with that tape, I had a nap again, and then when I came out they said, if you have to go in there again, your position will be terminated. I just said, I'll save you the trouble. I quit. That really pissed them off, because they were already understaffed. Sure. Aside from being a firefighter/medic, small volunteer department. Not paid, we all had a regular day-to-day job. Mine was always working in bars, pizza places etc., stuff like that. I was/am a cook, had one particular manager at the time that would talk down to you like you were a piece of dog shit. I let it slide way longer than I should have. I eventually said something one day, and it got twice as bad. He eventually got in my face and was legitimately yelling. I basically told him to suck a dick and that he needs to learn how to talk to people. I walked out that night and left him by himself to run that whole kitchen with at least 10 plus tickets that I know had not even been started yet. This was back in 2016 ISH. I heard he called 2 other employees in on their day off, and I later found out he did the very same thing to them as well, and the end result was the same. They too walked out on him. Fast forward a bunch of years to current time and a couple other restaurant/bar jobs later, I'm back at that same exact place, and he is no longer there. I now am that manager and run the show. I don't care if you're the President of the United States or a homeless guy on the side of the road, I will treat and talk to you the same exact way you talk to me. Everybody is out here struggling. It costs absolutely nothing to be nice to someone. You have literally no idea what someone may be going through. Be a decent human. Yeah, the job I have right now actually. Which sounds weird, but let me explain. I work in solar fields as a laborer and have for about a year now after spending the last 4 years doing demo/concrete work. Because of that, my work ethic is pretty strong. And I expect to work when I'm at work. In fact, I'd go so far as to say I enjoy it. Well, this solar site I was at, they didn't have any work. They had 40 guys on site and maybe 10 of them doing anything. Yet they told us if we were caught standing around we'd be fired. So it encourages a game of cat and mouse with our foreman, who didn't know what the hell they were doing in the first place. So for a few weeks I did absolutely nothing but spend 60 hours a week standing in a field with a bunch of grown-ass men talking about everything we could. Felt like I was losing my mind after a while. I desperately needed to work on something. At home I had plenty to do since I just bought my first apartment, so I decided to just leave during lunch. Which I had done many times before for the same reason, and because at that point I really didn't give a fuck about this job anymore. So I went into the trailer and told my foreman I was leaving at lunch for the day. Then he told me he was going to have a meeting at the end of the day about people leaving early and how he might fire some people. So I said I'd save him the effort, and quit then and there. My boss from my temp agency reached out to me asking about it, got in contact with the foreman and his boss, did some digging, and then somehow the foreman ended up getting fired, and I ended up getting promoted to crew lead with a nice raise. Good stuff, I guess. Doesn't really solve my issue of not having a lot of work. But I guess having a lot of money is nice too. Closest I personally came was giving 1 day's notice when I was a 3rd grade teacher. Basically, the entire job was me fighting administration for more than literally 0 time to actually do the job I was there to do. When I asked for time to plan lessons, help students who were falling behind, or work on helping special needs students in my class, I was denied every time. No exaggeration, I was in the beginning phases of a mental breakdown. I went into front office one morning to ask about what the best way to quit was in a way that didn't negatively impact my students, but before I could ask they gave me the bad news, that the last 7 hired teachers, i.e. me and 6 others, were being moved to other schools the following Monday due to enrollment changes, and I immediately said, "Great," I quit, and left the next day. It was really sad leaving my class, but from the bottom of my heart, fuck that job. Was working holiday season at a local post office as a rural carrier, which meant I ran the Saturday route for a full-time employee. Paid good and helped me save to purchase my first home, but it was a 6-hour route that mostly took me 10 hours to complete. Like I said, holiday season, so plenty of packages and regular mail, plus rural meant backroads, in snow, driving while sitting in my passenger seat, leg kicked over the transmission hump. Lots of stress and long Saturdays. Finally was bit by a chihuahua while delivering and said F it, brought back all undelivered mail and set it on the postmaster's desk. Thanked them for the opportunity and called it a career. It took a lot of preparation as far as training, background checks, etc., but I knew it wasn't for me. I give those folks doing those jobs at the Postal Service credit. Not for me though. I worked at a Bevmo for almost 2 years. The manager and I never got along so well, but I tried my best to learn more than anyone about our products. I went to special trainings, studied off the clock, paid insane prices to sample the big new releases. I worked my ass off and got a lot of upsells/add-ons. We had high turnover, so I became the most senior cashier after a shift leader left. But he decided to do an outside hire for the opening. Right after that, he took me aside and told me he didn't give me the job because he saw me not upselling to some of our regulars. He mentioned specifically a man who was an obvious alcoholic. He would buy a 750 milliliters of El Jimador 2 to 3 times a week. My boss told me I should have gotten him on the 1.75 L a long time ago. I realized I was basically an enabler and a drug dealer, and that my boss didn't respect me or our customers. I quit on the spot and told him you can't pay me enough to basically kill a man. Not that he was offering to pay me more anyways. Fuck retail, fuck profits over people, and honestly most of the priciest craft beers were overdone and nasty. Fancy vodka can be made with any charcoal filter, and liquor/wine sales are entirely driven by either the brand name alone or the art on the label. Ask me about the real good stuff though, it does exist. Yeah, working at CVS as a pharmacy tech. I've worked hotel front desks, retail, and restaurants as a host, server, and bartender. Pharmacy customers are just on another fucking level of awful. Zero patience, zero understanding, and zero compassion. I understand people coming in to pick up meds are probably not in a great mood, but that doesn't give you the right to be a total piece of shit. I don't need anyone to be extremely kind and warm and jolly. But a fucking ounce of common decency or respect wouldn't hurt. It didn't help that CVS is a terrible company to work for. My training was online modules that taught me nothing, absolutely zero on-the-job training whatsoever. Anytime I had a question, someone else would just do it for me or talk to the customer themselves. I was never taught anything. Nobody taught me about the medications or their uses. Nobody taught me about insurance. Nothing. My schedule was a mess. One day I'm working 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., the next day 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., the next day 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., the next day 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., 5 days off, then 3 open close in a row. Pharmacy was run on a skeleton crew, and everyone working back there was just always in a shitty mood. I don't blame them, but it didn't make for a good place to work. My last straw was when the pharmacist had me go through the entire stock of medications and pull expired ones. Literally thousands and thousands of tiny bottles. I got about an hour into it and said fuck this. I just got my water bottle and walked out without saying anything. Blocked all coworkers and bosses' numbers, and that was it. Do not go into pharmacy or pharmacy tech, and if you do not take a job at CVS.